Hi, and welcome to Follow We Will Legends Podcast, Episode 3, this Monday evening with myself, Lynsey Glen and Stan Gordon, featuring the greatest ever Rangers legends as our special guests, Rangers supporters clubs and bars from all around the world. Sponsored by Avia Signs, from concept to completion, developing, manufacturing and installing quality signage throughout the UK, with clients like Glasgow Rangers Football Club and Castor, just to name a few. You can visit their website at aviasigns.com. We also have our amazing associate sponsors of the show. Please check out their social media pages as well. We have Spotlight Events, Ernock Builders, Country Carpets, Hepburn Electrics, Millencroft Construction, First Class Memorabilia, Pollock Projects, The Gallant Pioneer in Blackpool, and Off to the Match I Go. Remember, if you're on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe to our show, or if you're on any of our social media platforms, remember to like, comment and share. Joining us tonight on the show, we have the amazing Rangers legend, Mr. Derek Johnston, along with Greg MacArthur from First Class Memorabilia, one of our sponsors of the show. Welcome, gentlemen. It's lovely to have you here this evening.
It's great to be here tonight, yes.
Thank you, nice.
Okay, so just before we get started, folks, we're going to have a wee competition throughout the show. The best question for Derek, if you want to send in your questions on the link, you've got the chance. We have 2 kids' Rangers books. They're absolutely out of this world. We have the famous 3 Bears and the Blue Bear. These will make excellent stocking fillers. So get your questions in, and during the show, we'll have Derek announce the winner a bit later on. Do you want to start us off then tonight, Stan?
Yes, welcome to the show, lads. Derek, we had a good weekend in Blackpool there. Have you recovered?
Did we? Oh, it was good. It was great seeing all the players down there. You know, there was 9 of us. I think that's the first time for me that I've been with so many players at a function.
Yeah.
And we all enjoyed ourselves. There was a couple of sherbets going about, but we didn't really bother with that. We just like talking to the punters, you know, enjoying ourselves.
And what I thought was great, it wasn't dead formal. I thought on Saturday night, the way things went, as you said, you were still taking photos there at 1 o'clock in the morning type of thing. And,
you know, but at the end of the day, there was 350 people there, and that's what they were there for. They were there to try and get pictures. The cup, we had the Cup Winners' Cup with us, and obviously Steenie, wee Bud and myself, we were the 3 that played, obviously. So we were the ones that stood there. Well, the rest went out to get some fresh air.
Just
and listen to some soul music, they're telling me.
We were fed up listening to Lynsey singing Rangers songs. But no, I thought it was great. And what I thought was good about it, as he says, it was different age groups that played with Rangers.
Different stories from different eras.
And it could relate to everybody because the audience was all different ages.
Yeah.
And I think that was good. The likes of yourself and Bud and Steenie getting up there. Guys knew your areas. We're talking about different games and you played, and then you go to guys like Mark Walters and I called him Mark Hateley on the night. I didn't make a mistake like that.
Mind you, you're a couple of sherbers before you went on.
Listen, Trish is early, don't say that. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's the first time I think I've done an interview with 9 players like that, get 3 up and 3 up. And
you know what was good about it, Stan, as well? I mean, people want to hear stories. And it's all right saying, oh, yeah, I remember that game, I scored 3 goals. You know, people know that.
No.
What they want to know is, how was Gaza? You know, what was he like as a player in the dressing room? And players had all these stories on the night, and the people loved that because they want to hear something different from the players. And they definitely got that on the night.
Me and yourself and Bud and Steenie and we out McDonald went to London the weekend before, and we went out for a couple of beers again, obviously.
Oh, did you? Did you leave me again? Right, okay.
No, I mean, and we sat in the afternoon, and I'll be honest with you, I sat with you and the young lassie, Lisa, was singing, and that was all it was there. And she just listening to you telling stories about even some of the ones when I was too young at that time, and listening to some of the stories that the guys come out with, the things that they've done in life is unbelievable.
You would think at our age we've forgotten all these stories, but honestly, when you're a footballer, you remember absolutely everything. Don't ask me what I did last week. See, 40 years ago, you name a game, I remember that, and you tell a story about it. But that's a great. I mean, Willie Johnson and Collis, Jack and Victor were called the 2 of them because that's exactly
it was
what
great.
Like.
It was brilliant.
And wee Doddie's just funny, typical. one of the best footballers. I mean, underrated footballers, I think. Never got enough Scotland caps. You know, the way he ran about the pitch and dominated games and scoring goals with the head.
Yeah.
So many goals he scored there. Just getting us all together and telling the wee stories. That was a really fantastic day.
It was, and you just say, even yourself listening to the guys, you come into the dressing room as a young boy, and the guys were there. You must have been annoyed, man.
Oh, it was wonderful because my hero at the time, believe it or not, my family were all Dundee United fans. You know, that because we liked the home teams. But in saying that, if United were away from home, we would go and watch Dundee. And we always wanted the two Dundee teams to win. It's not that case now.
No.
But back then, when they used to get a sneaky in at Tannadice and a sneaky in at Dens every other week. But when I remember one Sunday, that's where it all happened for me. And the reason that I signed for Rangers Football Club was the school cruise, the Navassa. It used to come around every 5 years, and it was Dundee's turn to have it. And there were so many that were allowed to go from each school. But we couldn't afford it. I mean, my mother had 7 sons. I couldn't understand why I only had 6 brothers and she had 7 sons. Still to this day, I can't recall why. But we were all in the house this day. It was raining. We couldn't play football. And the big white Mercedes outside the door. And who comes out but Jock Steen and John Kelman, head scout. So my mother said to my brothers, right, everybody out. You know, Mr. Steen's going to come in the house. But my second eldest brother stayed with me. He was probably the first agent ever.
Yeah.
At that time, we were talking 1968. And he stayed with me and my mother. And Jock Steen came in and he sat on the couch. And he said to me, he said to my mum, how are you doing, Mrs. Johnson? Everything fine? You know, the usual things happen there. And his first question to me was, would you like to play for Celtic? And before I had a chance to say anything, my brother said, well, look, you know, he's only 14. You know, he doesn't want to commit himself now. He's going down to Arsenal. He's going down to Everton. He's going down to Liverpool. He wants to see how that's going before he does anything. But we'll keep you in mind. He says, that's good enough for me. Then he left. So all my brothers came back and what was he saying? What was he like? Blah, blah, blah. And before I had a chance to say anything, there was a blue maxi outside the door. And who comes in it was a man called Tommy Gray, who was the local Rangers scout, you know, for the area. And he came into the house and he said, Mrs. Johnson, he says, I know Jock Steen was in here. He says, I've been down at the bottom of the street. I've been waiting for him to go. I went along the end of the road and in the telephone box, because there was no phones at that time, no mobiles. He says, and I phoned Davy White and told him, you know, Jock Steen's in the house. And he's told me I've not to leave the house until I've signed for Rangers. He says, so here I am. He says, I know that Jock Steen must have offered you a lot of money to play for Celtic. And I was just about to say, no, he offered nothing. And my brother went, well, you won't believe the sort of money he was talking about. Oh, my God. I mean, people don't get that in a year, and they were giving that to us. And eventually said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give your mum $2,000, and you're going to get $2,000. So for me, my ma got $4,000 because she was the gaffer, and that was it. And my brother said to me, well, Derek, it's one of these decisions. What do you think? I says, I'm signing for the Rangers. Brilliant. And that was the reason that then I was able to pay for the cruise, which was £36 for a 14-day cruise. I think at £36. That's how little it cost in these days. And I was getting $4,000. It was a hell of a lot of money. And I went on the cruise and I was sick every day and hated it.
Oh. so how old were you then?
I was 14 when Jock came into the house. And what I did was when I signed for Rangers, it was known as an S form, which meant it was schoolboy form. Nobody else can sign you as long as, Rangers had first choice on me as a schoolboy. Okay. And you couldn't sign then professional until you were 16.
Right, okay. So 16 professionally, but you were on a... I was
a Rangers man at 14. Yeah, nobody else could sign me. Yeah.
And who, so that, well, you've just told us a story about who was responsible for that for you then.
Well, it was your brother.
Yeah, my brother Bobby, he was the man.
He was the man that got you there.
He looked after me very well. I gave him a couple of quid, so he
So what happened when you were 14? Did you go and train with Rangers?
I did, in the holidays, Christmas time, and in the summer was the biggest one. I used to go there for 3 or 4 weeks, and it was great. I remember getting the train through. They sent a ticket for me, and I got the train through, and I'm at Glasgow. I'm at Queen Street, and I'm looking around. I thought somebody would be there to meet me and take me to Ibrox. No, I don't have a penny on me. So I start walking. And the strange thing was, I didn't walk towards Ibrox. I walked towards Celtic Park. I didn't know because I hadn't been outside Dundee in my life.
So you didn't
And
know.
eventually there was a garage, and I went in and I said to the boy, I said, listen, excuse me, but how do I get to Ibrox? He says, with a lot of practice, son, with a lot of practice. I says, no, I've heard that before. He says, you're away the wrong way. He says, you just follow that road, Paisley Road West, go there and walk up and blah, blah. And eventually I got to Ibrox. I was in Glasgow at 9:10, and I got to Ibrox just after 12 o'clock. So the first session had finished with all the kids, and Wooly Thornton was the man that looked after it. And I explained to him what happened. He said, and he apologised. He said, somebody should have been there to pick you up. But you're here now, so get on with it. And I just really enjoyed it. Most of the lads were from the west of Scotland that were there. I was the only one, from the northeast. But I really, really enjoyed myself. And just different for me, totally different. I used to train with my boys' club, but nothing like, what Rangers were doing. Oh, it was fantastic. And seeing all these stars walking about the place, it was wonderful.
There's a wee question come in for you there, Derek. Big Tam here from the Craig Inn. There he's put up there. What was the best day that you ever had at Ibrox during your career at Rangers?
The day after Ghislaine Sands. I mean, that was the hardest training. They used to take us through to Edinburgh Jock and train on the sands. But I'm only kidding, but that was a terrible day. Nobody looked forward to it. It was great when it finished. I was fortunate. I won 3 league titles, 5 Scottish Cup and 5 League Cup and a European Cup Winners' Cup. And I got 14 caps for Scotland. But there's only one trophy that the Rangers have won that no other Rangers team has done, is the European Cup Winners' Cup. So obviously that's got to be the best thing ever. I mean, I was 18 years of age. I think it was the first time Dave Smith and I had played centre-half together. And it was just a wonderful occasion from travelling over there. The great thing about that was the manager said to us about a week before we travelled, he says, you can bring your girlfriends, bring your wives. They're all, part of the Rangers squad. They're all coming with you. So I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I was just a wee sad boy. So Graham Fife and I took our mothers. So my mum came with, and these two sort of looked after the younger girls there and everything else. Two of them were great with them. She only saw me play 2 games. That was the game at Hampden when we beat Celtic 1-0 when I was 16 and scored in the European Cup Winners' Cup final. No bad 2 games to see. Only 2 games she's seen.
What about Wally Waddle? I've listened to Bud and Steenie talk about him, and it was a wee bit tight with the money strings.
A wee bit tight.
But how did you find him? I mean, he made your career for you, basically, didn't he? He
did, but basically there was no agents at that time, and what he said went. He said, look, in these days, if you were on a wage, just say you were on 100 quid a week and your contract was up. If he offered you any less than that, then he had to let you go. You had to offer you at least the same money as you'd had the previous 4 years, or you got let go. But if he offered you that, you had to sign. But that's when Bosman came in, it was brilliant. It all changed. He's changed an awful lot of lives for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the guys you mentioned there, and obviously yourself with the caps you got for Scotland and things like that, and you see some of the money that's getting made now.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
It's unbelievable.
Oh,
I mean, you just
makes me
need
sick.
if you get a chance to get down south at all, I mean, you played with Chelsea.
But that was at the end of my career. I mean, I stayed, 13 years, 14 years at Rangers. I had the chance to go to Arsenal, to Spurs in 1978 after the World Cup. And my contract was up, and I came back from that, and Willie Waddle said, "No, you never got a game out there, but he says you were out there with the team, and that was good." He says, "So I'm going to give you a £20 rise in your wages." And at that time, there was myself, Colin Jackson, and Sandy Jardine. All contracts were up, and he gave each of us 20 quid a week more, and the 3 of us signed a contract.
Brilliant.
I mean, nowadays, you can imagine nowadays doing that. But that's just how it was. That's how he was.
Yeah.
Willie Waddle.
There's actually quite a few more questions come in.
Fire them in.
Right, so we've got James Campbell. What was your favourite goal that you've scored for Rangers, Derek?
Favourite goal? See, there's different types of goals. There's ones that maybe you win the game with, and there's others that you're 4 up and then you score a great goal. I think you've got to look at the important ones. I think, for me, Rangers hadn't won a trophy in 4 years in 1970. And when I played and scored the winning goal in the League Cup final, that was an important goal. It wasn't the greatest goal I ever scored, but it was the most important, because that got Rangers back again into winning trophies. I mean, there was a lot of great... I mean, I scored one against Hearts, believe it or not, from about 25 yards with my left foot.
We watched it
Right in the top corner. I remember, it was absolutely brilliant. But we'd won 3-0 that day, so it didn't really matter if I scored or not because we were 2-0 up at the time.
And you had the header with Scotland against Wales outside the box.
Yeah, but we're talking about Rangers. We're not talking about Scotland. Yeah. I mean, most people say that to me. They still can't go. But it gets further out. It gets further out the more people tell it. Somebody said to me, "You were almost on the halfway line when you headed that." but it's all in the past. I mean, Archie Gamble absolutely hammered the ball in. It wasn't a big lob one.
Yeah,
he struck it really hard. So it was all about the timing. So if you time it right, it was going to go in the back of the net if you hit the target. And I was fortunate. I don't
think a lot of Rangers fans realise how many goals you did score with the feet.
Yeah,
because you were always known for being great in the air. You guys like me, Tommy McLean and Bud and all that.
And Davy Cooper, of course.
Yeah. There you go.
But it's strange, you're right. A lot of people said that to me. You must have scored 3/4 of your goals in the air. I said, well, put it this way. If you've got wingers and the ones that you've just mentioned are firing high balls in the box, do you expect me to do a handstand and kick the ball in the net?
Exactly.
You know, I'm a big lad. I'm 6 foot. You know, and if you're good in the air, fine. But somebody had actually written to me a while ago and said to me, you know, actually you scored more goals with your feet than you did your head. Which surprised me, but you know what the statisticians, people that look at these things, you know what they're like. You know, they're very accurate in what they do, and so I scored more goals with my feet actually than I did my head.
How many goals did you score for Rangers?
Well, the problem is back then I played 546 games.
Oh, Ryan Pickering's actually put that on as well.
546 games, and I scored 229 goals or something. But what they're doing nowadays, they're now counting all the friendly matches you played, you know, in pre-season games, because they were games that you played for Rangers, and it went over the 600 mark, and the goals was sort of 249, something like that.
That's absolutely phenomenal. When you think about the class, some players now, not just Rangers, but all over Scotland, England, there's legends scoring so many goals. Getting that amount of goals.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
And you didn't play as many games a season.
And I played in so many games in defence as well. I was a centre half and I played in midfield as well. I keep telling McCoy that. And I said, I never took penalties either. I'd have caught you, or I played up front all the time. There's
a funny one came in actually. Courtney Rogan wants to know, is it right that your missus was on Tennent's lager cans?
God. That's a good question. Well done. Somebody must have told you that one. She was one of the first girls on Tennent's lager cans. I said, I had my hands on you 40 years ago. She says, so did 150,000 others. She was the lovely June Lake, yeah, absolutely. Well done.
Brilliant.
Well done, Courtney. That's a good question. I like that one.
Derek, you scored your very first Old Firm game. You scored in your very first Old Firm game. How good was that for you? And how old were you when you done that?
It was great. Well, the first Old Firm game was obviously the cup final. You know, I'd played the month previous against Cowdenbeath and made my debut. And we beat Cowdenbeath 5-0 and I scored twice. I think Greggy scored, wee Doddy, and Graham Fife or something got the 5th. But it was wonderful. My ambition as a boy was to play football, professional football, for Dundee United. But I'd gone there on trial and I didn't like it. All we did was go there on a Tuesday and a Thursday at night, and I trained with the part-timers, and all it was running around the pitch. You know, I'm expecting to go there and have the ball at your feet and doing things, but I got very, very little of that. And when Rangers came along, you know, it was tremendous. And you know, like every other young lad, we people in that dressing room, and I speak to them nowadays, and they said, you know, I was bullied when I was at Rangers or whatever club they were. I said, no, it's not bullying. It's banter. You know, and if you can't look at yourself and look after yourself when people's making fun of you, then they're just going to keep doing it. But it's fun in a dressing room. When you've got 20 odd people in a dressing room, you're always going to get people that are always mouthing off. Steenie was probably the worst. Steenie and Willie Henderson, people like that, wee Doddy, McCoy later on, and Gerard, people like that in the dressing room are great to have. But unless you can hit them back with something, there's a great story. And when my first job there as a 14-year-old, in the summer when I went there, I had a wheelbarrow and I had to go around on a Friday, and all the players with all the training gear, you know, they'd be wearing the training gear for a week. They didn't have new stuff every day. No. All they did was put it in a dryer and it got dried for the next day. So on the Friday, you can think the smell of these things. So I would come in the dressing room with the wheelbarrow and I would say to them, can you all just put all your stuff in the wheelbarrow and I'll take it along and get washed? And everybody would do that. They would take it off, come over and put it in. all except one person, John Gregg. John just threw it at his feet. And I had to go over and take it
You
and
wouldn't
take
put
it
it in the
over.
barra.
And Colin Steen got me one day. He says, look, you're not on. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, we're all taking our gear off and putting it in there. He's dropping it at his feet and you're just picking it up like a lackey. He says, tell him to get it in. I went, I was stuttering and stammering. I said, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. on that week, I was sweating for another 7 days till that Friday came along. And it surely come along, and I've got the bar in the middle of the dressing room, and everybody's putting their stuff in. And I'm looked up, and Steenie's there. He's obviously told Willie Henderson and Willie Johnson and everybody what he's told me. And he's going like that, pointing, tell him. So I've gone over, and I've been listening to all the banter that's in the dressing room and all the nicknames and everything else. So I took a deep breath and I went over. I says, "Oh, jug ears." And he just looked at me. He says, "Can you turn around?" Turn around. I turn around, and honestly, he'd sized 10 feet, and he booted me right up the back. Honestly, I never walked right for about 3 weeks.
Oh, no.
Honestly. And he says, "Don't you ever talk to me like that again." And I went, "Oh, sorry, Mr. Gregg." And I looked up, and Steenie and wee Bud were on the floor laughing.
Oh, they were rolling about.
Yeah, it was just done in. That's when it dawned on me, I need to watch this.
Aye.
But that's what happened with him. That was the first real bad one I got. And it wasn't that about 8 or 9 months later, I was playing with him. In the first team. It was a kid. I was in the dressing room, but that's what Greggy did. Captain of Rangers in Scotland. Hi, jug ears. I thought it was funny. I thought you would have liked that, just a nickname.
No, he didn't like it.
And who would you have said? You've probably been asked this a few times, but the best player you came up against. You played a lot of good centre halves, and they had and even with Scotland.
Well, I was fortunate, Stan. I had both. I mean, I played up against a lot of good strikers and a lot of good centre halves as well. Playing that bit. And remember, I've played against the likes of Beckenbauer and Muller and Cruyff, 17-year-old Diego Maradona, George Best, Eusebio. I played over when he was playing over in Canada. Some fantastic players, but certainly as a centre half, Johan Cruyff's the best player I've ever played against. I mean, he was 6 feet. He had 2 great feet. He had tricks. He had speed. He could score goals. Good in the air. Anything you want from a striker, he had it. And there's a great story about 10, 12 years ago. The SFA invited him over to Glasgow he was a guest of honour. And they said, look, nobody go over and get autographs just now. We'll get an hour halfway through the night and you can all go over and get autographs and pictures or whatever. Great. So that time came along, so they're all queuing up. So I queued up as well to get my programme signed on the night. As I got closer to him, he's sort of looking at me as if to say, I know your face. Then he would sign something again. And eventually I got up to him and I gave him a kiss. I said, can you sign that, please, Johan? He says, I know your face. I know your face. I says, yeah, I played against you. I said 4 times in the 70s. He says, Jardine. I went, no, you're close. He says, oh, no. And then he went, Jackson. I went, no. He says, oh, I'm sorry. I says, I'm Derek Johnston. He says, I was marking you, in 3 of the 4 games. He went, oh, she says, I remember you. I says, you know what? I said, this is the closest I've ever got to you. He says, of course. You're no different from many others.
Who would you say, Derek, then, the opposite side of that is the best player that you've played alongside with?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. It was Super Cooper.
Yes, I thought you were going to say that.
Without a shadow.
Actually, my cousin, Thomas Collins, he'd actually asked what that would be like, what it was like for you playing with David Cooper.
I mean, for me as a striker, I needed somebody that can get decent balls into the box. I need ammunition. It's not often I picked the ball up 40 yards out, beat 3 men and stuck the ball in the top corner. That wasn't my game. My game, as Jock Wallace said to me, you get in that 18-yard box when we're in their half. If you're not in there, you're in trouble. So that was left for the wingers just to fire the ball in. I don't think they specifically looked for me. They just put decent balls in. I can go and attack. And Davy Cooper was magnificent. Whenever you needed a 10-minute break, you gave him the ball and he just took it for a walk and just kept beating people and everything else. Tommy McLean was great because he was somebody that he would beat his man and look up and just ping it in. And he was great. He was wonderful. Willie Johnson was the same when he was wide. But Coop knew exactly where you were. Any time he crossed the ball, when he hit the ball on the left or on the right, you see, he just gave it the wee look just to see who was in the box, and he would just ping it in. And 9 times out of 10, it would find the striker. Probably 7 out of 10 times he would find me. But he was definitely the best.
Was he definitely a moody blue?
Oh, very much. But listen, great sense of humour. A wee bit like Dalglish. People look at Kenny Dalglish when he's been interviewed and he's got that face, never smiles, but now and again he comes out with a wee funny.
Yeah.
And it's good. But Coop was the same. And you had to really know him before he would really open up to you. If any punter came to him, can you sign that, David? Yeah, he would sign it, but he wouldn't get involved. Well, you would have to know somebody to talk to them. But he was a lovely, lovely man. Wonderful man.
We've got another wee question that had come up there. It's actually quite a good one. Tam Black. Where's that one? Derek, what current Rangers player, if any, would make it into the 1972 team?
Oh, what a good question.
Yes.
That's Willie's brother. That's Willie Black's brother. He's done that for badness.
It's not as good as Courtney's one, but that's a good question. That's a good question for me. I would have to be honest. I don't think any of them would get a game in the 72 team.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm thinking the goalkeeper. I mean, Big Peter McCloy and Stuart Kennedy were fantastic. Scotland international goalkeepers. I think you're looking at Sandy, Tavernier. No. I think Greggy, when he played at left back, would you play him or would you play Barisic or Bassey? The 2 centre halves with the 2 best in the business. And Ronnie
that's yourself.
No, I'm not even putting myself in it. Even McKinnon and Jackson, who were just out and out really good defenders. Yeah. Don't give them the ball and ask them to pass it. But you say to them, mark these strikers, and they would do that. They were quick, great in the air, got us goals at the other end. I would keep them. When you look at the midfield, wee Doddy, Alfie Conn, up front, wee Bud, Steenie, Derek Parlane, Graham Fife. I don't think I would take any of them.
Any of them out.
They would certainly got on the bench. If we were picking 16 teams, the likes of Steve Davis, I would definitely put in there. I think maybe Ryan Jack as well on the bench. But I'd be quite happy nowadays to play that team that we had in 72.
And it just shows you what we were talking about earlier, what you're saying there. I mean, look at the money some of these players are worth.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely.
I mean, if they moved down south for 10, 15 million, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's incredible. But that's what happens. Up here, they get them cheap up here players. They think if we get 5 million for a player, well, that's big money in Scotland. Whereas down south, it's sweetie money.
A lot of people don't realise, I know, Derek, that they're Bud and Steenie, they're at Ibrox, they do the hospitality. They do hospitality every week at Rangers.
Every home game.
And they get the train through, and then they walk it for the underground, and they go to Ibrox, and they do.
You know what they do now?
They go to Dow's pub after that, and they have a couple of pints and back on the train again.
You know what they've started doing?
Brilliant.
Instead of going back in the train, they go back in the supporters bus. It drops them off at both, wherever they live. They're just too great.
Jack and Victor, right enough.
It's great when you like the Gordon Jury's here, Big Marvin Andrews, Ian Ferguson. There's a lot of great lads, all good players that are there on the day of a game, and it's great going around all the boxes talking to them.
Oh, it's great. I mean, but yourself, Bud and Steenie come out and sit with me at the start of every home game, and I'll get him a wee half pint of lager. He only drinks half pints.
They're not allowed to drink.
And Steenie likes just a small red wine. But anyway, I always get him a couple of wee drinks, and my dad's always there with us, and I'm sitting with him, and somebody come in and says, Archie, how come Bud and Steenie always come in and sit with you every home game with us? Because nobody else in here know who they are. It's because of their age.
And of course, your dad was in Steenie's class at school.
But even for him, I love it when you come out and Bud and Steenie and that come out, because that was all near his era. He was at Barcelona.
Yeah.
All that
but it's all different from way back there, and you've got the Juries and Marvin Andrews, people, recent. Yeah. And Ian Ferguson, people like that. No, it's great for everybody. And it's good to see them back at Ibrox doing something, helping out.
Aye, definitely.
Alex Kelly wants to know, hi Derek, what do you think makes our club so special?
It's a difficult one, because I wasn't born a Rangers fan. I mean, as I said earlier, I was born a Dundee United fan, but I can understand after a couple of months at the club, I could understand what Rangers means to everybody. mean, it's one of these things. It's 24 hours a day for a lot of our fans. You know, they just love it. And they talk about the Rangers family. When people said that to me as a youngster, well, what do you mean the Rangers family? You mean the Rangers supporters? It's no, the Rangers family. They all seem to look after each other. If somebody's in trouble, they'll go online and they'll raise money for them or whatever, something like that. And all the family all kick in and do things for them. You look at us in 2012 when we went down all these divisions. But 7 or 8 games that were sellouts at Ibrox, playing the Brechin Cities and everybody else.
Yeah, even the
they stood by this club, and if that's not, the best family in the world, then nothing was. They stuck by our team.
Yeah.
It would get to the stage where somebody would say, I would say to them, you go into the game on Saturday, and big Rangers fans, who were playing?
I know.
Didn't get to that stage, but they wanted to go. They still wanted to support their club, and that's for me as a family, and that's why we're the greatest family in the world.
Stephen Payton's asked as well. Hi Derek, you played both centre half and centre forward for Rangers. Which position did you prefer and why?
I mean, the reason that I did that was I can remember one day with 3 centre halves that were out injured, and Jock Wallace said to me, he says, "Have you ever played defender?" I says, "No, really, Gaffer." I said, "But listen, I'll play wherever because I want a game. If you want me to play there, I'll play there." So he played me, and I actually did quite well. And so he said, "That's good because in the future, if we need to play you there again, I'll have no hesitation in playing you there." Mm-hmm. So it gave me a chance to play at the back or at the front.
Yeah.
And eventually it was the same in midfield when we had midfielders missing. Well, you think about the Bayern Munich game in 72 in the semi-final, second leg at Ibrox. Parlene and I were in midfield, the two strikers.
Yeah.
Right. He was marking Franz Roth, and I was marking Uli Hoeneß. And then you had Wee Bud, you had Steenie and Tommy McLean up front.
And to be fair and all, was it wasn't Beckenbauer, was it Muller that went in the huff, didn't he?
Beckenbauer went in the huff with Sepp Maier for losing one of the goals. Because remember, Big Derek scored the second and crucial one, in 20 minutes after Sunday with his left foot, which he still couldn't believe years later. How did I manage to hit the target from 25 yards? But what a goal in the first minute. That is the best game. Before Sunday come, that's the best game I've ever played in for Rangers. Not me personally, as a team. There was 80,000 there, and normally 10, 15 minutes to go, you see the crowd going out because they've got to get the underground, they've got to get the trains and everything else.
Yeah.
Nobody left. And we were on the park maybe for about 40 minutes after the game. The first time we'd ever done that, walked around and clapped the crowd because the crowd were magnificent that night.
The first leg over there, they battered you, didn't they?
We drew one each. How we got a draw, I'll never know to this day. I mean, there was a record, and it came out a couple of weeks later that all 10 outfield players of Bayern Munich all had a shot at goal in the first half against us. That's how good they were. Everybody came forward and had a shot at goal. How we got a draw, a 1-1 draw. Now, we defended really well. Big Peter was outstanding in goals, had some great saves. We were throwing our bodies when they were shooting in front of it and everything else. And they must have thought after that, well, we'll go to Glasgow, we'll beat them. We should have hammered them tonight. And what they did on the day in the second leg, they arrived on the Wednesday morning. Normally you have to be there 24 hours before the game. But that wasn't the rule then. They actually came at lunchtime. And so had their lunch. That's what they're thinking. We'll have lunch, we'll have a wee kip in the afternoon, we'll play the game, and we'll be back in Munich at midnight. Thinking it'll be that easy. And we were really fired up. So were the crowd, and what a game that was.
I remember when we were talking to you, when I was talking to yourself and Bud and that about it, one of the things for yous away from home was the last 20-25 minutes, yous were running daft because yous were fit.
You know why? You mentioned it earlier, Ghislaine Sands, that's why. we beat in the league, we beat so many teams in the last 10 minutes, you're right, Stan, because we were fitter. And we were creating a lot more chances. And that was Jock's strength. Jock wasn't a great tactician. Didn't want 4-2-4 or 4-3-3. Just go out and play. If you're a midfielder, work it between you. If you're up front, just move about, get the ball in the box and get scoring goals. And he was a great motivator. He got the best out of players. How many times have you seen a great player and he's left the club because he just didn't like anything about it. He got people playing. And if you didn't do it, by Christ, he told you after the game. And you were frightened of that voice of his. That's why you went out and worked for 92 minutes.
I would never like to take a right off.
Oh, dear, well, I had a few of them, a few scalps in the back of the head.
So how many days did you train a day back then?
We trained 4 days a week. We always used to play the game on a Saturday. We're in Monday and Tuesday and got it quite hard training. We always get the Wednesday off. And we're in the Thursday, Friday. Did very little because we did our work at the start of the week. But he just knew when he would look at certain people. Sandy and we at McDonald were the two fittest men in the club. So he would look at them and if we were, when you're running around the track and everybody stayed together, you knew that everybody was getting the best of everybody. Because Sandy and Weedody would run their heart out. And you had to be the back of them. And if you venture 20 or 30 yards back, well, you get your size 10s up your bahookie. So it forced you on. So everybody was fit. That's how you knew everybody was fit.
I think we'll move on a wee bit and we'll ask our sponsor to speak about his...
Aye.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So, Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
One of our sponsors, and you've got, is it First Class Memorabilia?
Yeah, First Class Memorabilia. It's online, just a website. I hold a lot of signings with players, mainly Rangers that I stick to just now, but there's a lot of different Liverpool players, Chelsea. Just basically what I can get a hold of, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I hold the signings myself, so which makes it a lot better as well. So at least I know everything I sell is always authentic, guaranteed. I can get photo proof most of the time to show everything being signed. And I've been doing this for about 22 years now. So I've been at
That's a long time.
At it a while, yeah. It's now, say since lockdown, seems to be everyone doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone's thought, do you know something, let's all get involved in this. But I've been doing it that long. I did start off doing a lot of music before I started doing the football. And I regret it. See the amount of footballers I met back in the days, and I wasn't interested in getting their autographs.
Mm-hmm.
And now I regret it. Like Rickson, met him tons of times.
Yeah.
I'd have loved to have got a few shirts signed with him. But it's one of these things. But now, it's going well. Just done a signing here with McCoist. We've done Souness, Mark Cately. I've done 2 with him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
We had him on the show.
I watched that show. He's really good.
Have you lost my number? No.
No, I did that stand for it.
Aye, it's all right. I've seen him there.
Stan's dealing with that for me.
Good Stan, thank you.
He'll be my agent.
It's I like the memorabilia. Everybody looks for memorabilia, and that was a thing we were going to touch on. It's next year. It's the 50th anniversary, 1972, the Cup Winners' Cup, and there's a lot of big things planned for that. And then
looking forward to that.
I think it's exciting times for us next year. I mean, being really honest, 60-year. It's not going to be everybody going to be there. Unfortunately, you've not got Sandy there now. We Tommy McLean doesn't keep great, and another 10 years forward, and everybody's 10 years. I think this is a big one for you, really.
I think you're right, Stan, because most of the lads now are in their middle 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
I'm the youngest at 51. Plus VAT. Sorry, but you're right. This is the last throw of the dice. It'll be great to see all the lads together. We've got the big dinner in February, which is going to be a sellout. I think there's only a couple of tables left for that. So if you want to be there, phone up 5 Star and get your tables.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward with all the lads together again. That's going to be tremendous.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
As you say, there's a couple of them not doing too well, but they're all I've spoken to them all.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be at the dinner on the night. So absolutely delighted.
Brilliant.
And we've got a squad. The whole squad that year, 19 that were involved in the European, they're all going to be there. It's not just the 11 that played and all that sort of stuff. The whole squad are going to be, because we are there as a team, as a unit, and that's the way it's going to be.
And you've got wee Wally Henderson there that scored at the beginning.
Sporting Lisbon scored 3-4 goals in the 2 legs.
And obviously he gets sold on, but I mean he was still part of that.
Absolutely. I mean, Derek Parlin scored the decisive goal in the semi-final against Bayern Munich, so they all played their part.
Yeah,
might not been a huge part, but they're part of that squad and they deserve everything they get.
That's one guy that's not changed, Derek.
He could still be playing.
But
Absolutely hate him.
He looks about 14-year-old.
I was going to say 12. He's looked
and he knows
himself.
it, but he knows it.
No, he's still got the hair all buffed up and everything else. He's still got a right good head of hair. He absolutely hate him.
I had them in Jersey, and you've done Jersey before, Tane. Big James McConnell, and we done Jersey, and it was him. I had him and George Alberts on, and I can't remember who else was on that night. But I had to go down and I'm announcing them up first. So I says to James, I'll come down and you announce the players up, So he gets up and announces Derek Parlane and then he announces George in. So we go to the Temple Bar the next day. So Derek's going away. So he got up to say a few words before he left the bar. And I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it last night. He said, I thought it was great. The dinner was fantastic. He said, but I'm a bit disappointed with the organiser, James. You see James going scarlet and he says, what's wrong, Derek? He said, what's wrong? He says, you got up there and you get the mic and you went, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. We've got a legend here, Derek Parlane, put your hands together. He said, and everybody claps and again and I sit down and you go, now we've got a real legend, George Albert's here. How fantastic is this to get this guy in James? And James just went, and he went, cheese later, lads. And he went away,
That's Derek for you, absolutely.
Brilliant.
He's a great player, Big Derek.
Oh, he was.
The good thing about him, he used to, in the first 5 minutes of every game, he would actually have a dig at the centre half. And the centre half would look at him and say, excuse me, I'm supposed to do that to you. But he would hammer them.
Yeah.
And he had great pace. He loved to tackle and he could score goals. That's why he got his moves to Man City and teams like that.
I think
he was a great player.
His claim to fame, I think, he tells people is that he scored against Celtic, obviously a few goals against Celtic, but his dad did too.
So he did, that's right. His
dad played for Rangers.
Two of them were at Queen's Park. That's where they started.
Yeah.
His dad went to Rangers and so did Derek.
I'd like to see if that is actual. That's ever happened before.
Well, listen, if he said he's not one that tells porkies, Big Derek. So if he says
I don't mean that with him. I'm talking about anybody else that's ever done that. A father and son scoring against Celtic for Rangers.
Oh, good shout,
yeah.
Good question out there. Does anybody know?
There we go.
This could be the winning. This could be the winning prize if you got it.
Alex Kelly wants to know, Derek, are you disappointed with Gerard and the way that he left the club, or are you happy that he has galvanised the club into winners again?
And that's a good question as well. I like that one. Remember where we were 3.5 years ago. We were nowhere. All of a sudden, we've got this man who's come in with his entourage, and he's changed the club. He did what he was supposed to do. He stopped Celtic winning 10 in a row. But we won our first for a long time. That was important as well. We could have won the treble actually last year when you think about it. 2 stupid games that did it for us. But listen, that's all ifs, buts, and maybes. We all knew that he was going to go back down south at some stage. The timing wasn't great. I accept that. And there's a few Rangers fans not happy. But listen, I'm just delighted that we had him up here. Yeah. And Gary McAllister and Michael Beale, all them. Where have they taken this club? The European scene, we're a name again in Europe for what he's done. And the fans are all coming back. The fans have never had such a great year as last year, celebrating that win. That's down to him. Normally, when you leave a club, you're sacked because you're not doing well. Yeah. He has left us top of the league. 4 points clear, and we've still got a wee chance in Europe to do things. So anybody come in and it's there for you. He set that up for you. So although I'm disappointed a wee bit that he's gone like everybody else, but just glad that he came up here for 3.5 years, because I'll tell you what, he has changed this club.
He has.
And we're moving on to another chapter. When Souness left, everybody went, oh, that's us gone. Then Walter came in and won all the championships. So this could happen again. Whether it's Gio or who else, he's got to be the favourite. I don't think there's any. Well,
that was going to lead to one of the questions we actually had anyway. Who do you think?
Because he ticks all the boxes. Yeah. He's been at Rangers. He knows what the fans like. He knows what's happening. There's 2 teams in Glasgow, and if you're second, that's failure. He knows that, and he's been there, seen it, and done it. So for me, I think he's got to be the favourite, and I would love to see him get it. I don't know. There's supposed to be 3 involved. 3 people, but for me, there need to be somebody spectacular to beat his record. Because remember, we're now talking about him being a winner as well. He's managed the team that's won the league in Feyenoord.
Yeah, and that's what you need.
Was it 3 or 4 trophies he's won in a couple? So he's
a winner. You need a winner.
He ticks every box that I would like. So if it's him, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Do you think he'll bring a Scottish ex-Rangers player in beside him?
I think if he's sensible, yes, because it's all right saying no Rangers, but you don't know Scottish football. It's not as if you're watching it every week, so he's going to have to get somebody in. I know there's a few names being branded about, but I like the Neil McCann one, somebody fresh.
I agree with you 100%.
I think he's been a manager up here as well. He was at Inverness,
Dundee,
helping at Dundee as well.
Yeah.
And I think actually, I listened to him on Rangers TV. I think he's very good at analysing games and everything else.
And he's
I
passionate about the club.
think if you're Gio, you're looking to him to tell him all about these teams that you're playing. You can look at any videos he likes, but you need somebody who's been involved in the game up here to tell him or advise him what's going on. So I would love to see somebody like Neil McCann.
What about yourself, Greg? What do you think, manager-wise?
I think Van Bronckhorst's probably the best. I think that's what we need. After losing Gerard, everyone's hurt. And we're needing somebody like him just to lift us back up again and get that belief back in us. If we got somebody like McInnes and that, I don't think the fans will be too happy.
No.
We need a big name, i.e. somebody similar to Gerard. I think Van Bronckhorst ticks all the boxes. I did say Lampard as well, but I think I've just heard recently he's came out of it.
Yeah.
I think. But hopefully it's Gio.
Yeah.
I think with the experience he's got, will hopefully get some even Dutch players over that he's worked with before.
Yeah,
that will help us.
But you know what, Greg? It's the same players. The only people that have gone are the coaches and the manager.
Yeah.
You know, Gio is a good coach himself. He'll come in. It's up to the players themselves.
Actually,
they haven't really, shone this year. There's a couple that have played well, but we haven't done it enough in games. Maybe 10, 15 minutes here and there, we've played well, and we're still top. So it's down to the players. If they're all going in a huff because the manager's gone, then we've had it. What they have to say is the ones certainly that haven't been getting a game, they're the ones that are going to start from the beginning. Everybody feels that Stephen had his favourites and they would always play. That changes now because you've got a new man coming in. You'll have them on the training ground. They'll be watching him, and he'll pick his team from what he sees on that training ground.
Yeah.
So everybody should, if you haven't been getting a game, this is your chance to show the manager you should be playing.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I seen a quote in one of the papers there saying that going forward now, I know it's like having two new players, two new signings, Ryan Jack back and Ryan Kent back.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we're strengthened. Even
strengthened before doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, Greg, as well. I mean, they've been in Holland. How many great players have come from Holland?
Yeah.
And he would know them. Even if it's loan deals or whatever, I mean, they'll know.
Yeah.
Because they played over there.
And I think his style of football, the Dutch way, is good. Great. But Dick Advocaat, some of the football we played.
But he'll be the same. But that's how they play the game over there. I think you'll see a different Rangers side when they come out to play eventually. It might take a few weeks to him to get over the players the way he wants to play. And he's got to find out what his best 11 is as well and play them regularly.
I think once he does that, the way the Rangers actually are set up to play with the two wing backs going forward and crosses into that's the way the Dutch play anyway.
But you know what, Stan? I would love to see them go three at the back. Push it out.
Ibrox anyway.
Ibrox,
definitely, I agree with you.
We need the width because it's the width that are going to win games for us because everybody just parks the bus and there's no room for anybody in the middle. You get the wide men going down, getting balls in the box with a chance of getting more goals.
And you see that at games there, as you say, the opposing team, they pack the box. And then we've got four at the back there, and see if the full back something, and then you're going forward, and they're swamping us. Because we've got.
Because remember as well, Stan, it's not just three at the back. If you're under a bit of pressure from one of the bigger clubs, you get the two wing backs and bring them back into the left back position. So you've got five.
Yeah, that's right.
But most of the time you don't need that.
Yeah, and we've got big centre halves here. You've got three there, easy enough.
No problem.
Do you think Van Bronckhorst will like these players that we've got just now?
Well, that's up to him. If he's looking at them in training and they're not doing it and they're not doing it on the park, then you'll not be slow in getting rid of them. And that's what we have to do anyway. Any manager that comes in will do that. Yeah. If they don't fancy the players, you get rid of them, get money in, and then even if you're bringing in loan players, if we can't afford to pay big money for big players, then what do? You've got to get them on loan. Yeah. Why not? There might be a few Dutchmen that are out there that he knows he's friendly with. Bring them in.
He'll probably have a few there that he's probably.
Yeah, I think there will be a few going anyway. I think in January you'll probably find that there will be two or three.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Ones that are not getting a game, what's the point in just keeping them, putting them on the bench, bringing them on for 5 or 10 minutes? People are not even on the bench; they're sitting in the stand, earning big money. Just get rid of them.
Yeah. We're at 10-8 now, so I think we'll pick our competition winner for the question. What's your favourite question, Derek? We'll get that.
I think that the one that stands out is for my good lady. My good lady, I have to do that. She's on the tenants can. I've still got 2 cans of her in the house. First time I've had my hands. Anyway, we'll not get into that. It was wee Courtney Regan.
Yeah.
Rodney Regan. Well done, Cody. I know somebody's told you to ask that, but that's fine. I don't care. It was a good question. Well done, Pet. Hope you enjoy these books.
There you are, Courtney. So you get in touch with us and we'll get your books to you. Definitely. Do you want to tell us a wee bit about the books of that, Stan?
Yeah.
Have you read them yet? No.
No, it's a guy called Stevie Wilson, I think you know him. And he's brought these books out, DJ, right? And it's Three Bears. What's the other one called? Can you remember? I think I've got it up here in the line. And
is it Morelos Tavernier and Golson, the Three Bears?
It's stories about
the Blue Bear.
The Blue
so
Bear.
We've got the famous Three Bears and the Blue Bear.
And it's about bears going to watch Rangers. Teddy Bears going to watch Rangers. So
there
it's there. And I think it kind of. I think the way he was telling me, like, there's the kind of story about adults can read it because it's like relating to guys going to watch Rangers. Oh, sorry.
I'll need to get.
Guys going to watch.
I'll need
Rangers.
to get 3 of them for the grandkids. I think they'll get that.
No, it's a great stocking filler.
Yeah, I think so.
And the good thing about it is, Stevie, I had a good chat with him and we'd asked me to give me a wee mention. And the money he raises is going to motor neurons disease.
Great.
No, sorry, MS, multiple sclerosis.
MS, yep.
MS, and which is a horrible disease.
Absolutely.
And I think it's great what he's doing.
Any disease is horrible, Stan. One's worse than others.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And for to do that and get the money there. So if there are any Rangers fans fancy getting the books, just go onto the link there. And,
Amazon, that was there, wasn't it?
Yeah. And get the book in. And I need to mention, I've got to do this. I think I was telling you alone. My wee grandson, Jack, my daughter puts this on the telly and he runs around shouting, "Granda, Granda."
You don't talk to him?
No, so Jack, hiya.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
All right, Jack, boy.
Hi, Jack.
And another wee punt here for the soonest night. It's 26th of November in the Armadillo. Alan McCoist and Vigilante's own with him.
Oh, that's a good three.
And I think it should be a good night.
I might actually go there myself, Stan.
There's tickets. And it'll be good listening to them.
Means you've heard other stories anyway.
Oh, I know.
Some of them are mints.
I had to listen in the pub when you went home yesterday. But no, great. And anybody's want tickets for that, it's great. And as we mentioned there with your man there, Greg, and with his memorabilia, if anybody's want any, contact me or contact the website, and I'll get in contact with Greg. I know a lot of guys have got functions coming up.
And even man caves and everything.
Yeah, and man caves, aye.
Yes, I've got a function coming up. You forgot that one, didn't you?
Oh, you have, but it's sell out. I said to Billy, it's sell out, so did they?
I didn't think they would sell out, 46 people, but that's 46. The local pub in the lounge.
But no, great, and it's good for Billy to do that.
I'm delighted. Yeah, but it was supposed to be last year. It was the 50th anniversary of the goal against Celtic, in 1970. But obviously everything went up in the air with COVID, so he's got it this year again. It's 50+1 now.
A 50+1. Aye, no, it's great. It's good, and the good thing is you're not allowed to speak at it. No, so I think it'll be
even better. Right? But it's good because we've got Eric Davidson, who's very
brilliant,
and Alec Gray. You're going to be the speaker.
Great.
So
brilliant. Yeah, that'll be good.
Looking forward to hearing them too.
That'll be great.
And then this is another one. I think the link's going to come up again. It's actually, don't want to end on this. We'll speak about Rangers after this, but everybody knows Gary Stevens, we're full-back, came up for Everton, played with his young boy's only 4-year-old, and he's not going to last to Christmas, which is absolutely distraught. He's in Australia, and the boys for the Rockingham Rangers Supporters Club have been in contact with us, and there's a link there if anybody's want to put in and help.
A wee donation for him, that would be good.
Fundraiser.
The Rangers Club there are going to do everything they can for him. He's Gary's the president, the honorary president of the Rockingham Rangers in Australia, and they're all good lads. And we've had
Rockingham on. We've had them on. And
so give a donation if you can. Anyway,
Gary was a great player.
He was fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. But we'll just finish off now. What do you think? Sunday Hibs. Are we going to have a manager in? Are we going to be up for it? It's a Hampden big part.
They need to be up for it, Stan. They need to be up for it.
That's the biggest thing. We've got the players to do it. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But it's getting the best out of them. And I would like to think we're going to have a manager by then. I know they've said that Jermaine Defoe and McCallum's going to take that bit.
No, we don't.
Obviously, we don't. But if we don't have a manager, they're the ones that are going to have to do it. It's all about motivating these players, because if we play the way we can, then we'll win the game. Without a shadow of a doubt.
They're actually playing no bad, Hibs, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're a good side.
Yeah.
We've not had much luck against them at Hampden the last few while.
Against us at Ibrox, they were the better side until the sending off.
Yeah.
Eventually, we beat them 2-1. So that's the wee warning for the players going out there on Sunday. This is a team, if we don't play well, we're not going to get in that final. And surely, to goodness, if you're a player, you want to go back there in the final and win a trophy.
Definitely.
No, so that's what the lads have got to get into their heads and get them playing.
And you want to get to another final. I mean, when we go to the final against Celtic,
we battered them and lost.
I remember we were going to take our seats, and see the opposite side of the stand now, how Rangers take the kind of hospitality habitat. And the goalie was there, Andy Gorham, and he said to me, their goalkeeper's always due a mistake. He said, he'll drop the ball or something like that. He's murder. And see, after the game, I looked at him. He was putting the ball in the post, saving penalties. And I went, you played in goals. And he had the best game I've ever seen.
But that was the best chance we had to win in the trophy.
Oh,
unbelievable. Yeah. But that's what can happen.
Yeah.
But we have to play well on Sunday. The majority of our players have got to play better than they have been playing for longer. Mm-hmm. And if we do that, we have a right good chance of winning this game.
You got a score prediction, Derek?
Again, if they play well, we'll win 2-0. Mm-hmm. If we don't, it might go to extra time and penalties or whatever.
What yourself, Greg? What do you think?
I'll probably say about 2-1 to Rangers. I can see it being a really close game because the Hibs are a good team. They're always up for a fight against us. They've been at Hampden equal, so I can see it being a really tough game for us.
The one thing you'll get from them, they will play, because it's not often they get to finals.
Yeah.
And so they'll be well up for it. They'll feel that they're good enough to beat Rangers if they play well too.
Yeah,
and that's why we don't play well, we'll get nothing.
They'll be looking at us maybe with not having a manager in place or somebody just there and try to catch.
That's why the motivation is there to get into their heads.
Yeah.
Listen, this is a big game for you lot.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're going to heed that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Stan?
I think I'm going to go for 2-0 today. I think because of Hampden, Rangers will go wide. And if they play Kent and they get a Rebo going to the other side, and we'll get somebody through the middle, I think we'll win.
Even Ryan Jack, getting him back, he's the solid one in midfield that we need as well. And if he's fit enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he got in there for half an hour or whatever it was last week, and he looked the part, but he's not match sharp yet.
No, you know yourself.
You can train all you like, but you have to play games
you
to get yourself match sharp.
And I like him. He's my favourite
midfielder,
actually. And we've missed him.
Yeah, very much. I agree with that.
I think we've lost a lot of goals down that side for the start of the season. I think one of the reasons is because he would come out to the right hand side when Tavernier went forward.
Yeah.
And nobody's been doing that, so they're not picking up the guy. And there always been a space here down the right hand side all the time.
The bonus for us is Ryan Kent.
Yeah.
He looks sharp in Europe there. Denmark, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, that's next Thursday as well. We've got a game next Thursday, haven't we?
What do you think there? Do you think we'll go through?
I think we will, yeah. I think we will.
I think with the crowd, I think you've got a full house at Ibrox, and the European games at Ibrox at the full house is...
Again, they've got to be right in the head, the Rangers players. I think there's too many of them this season. They're still thinking about 55. 55's gone. We've won that. We've had all the celebrations. It's now 56 we've got to look
at. Definitely.
And we've got to go out there and we've got to, right from the first minute, get in and about them. That's what we did last season. That's why we were undefeated in the league. Because we went out there and made things happen.
Yeah.
It's as if they're going out these days and going, we'll just go out in the park and things will just happen. No, it doesn't. You've got to make it happen. You need these few tackles early on, get a goal early and settle you down. We've got to play. We've got to play.
Right, well, that's 2 minutes past 8, so we're running over the 8 o'clock mark.
Oh, dear.
And Stan, you've not really said that much tonight.
No, I've been not bad.
So if it's all right with you lads, we'll get finished up then. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I thought you enjoyed it. Thanks for asking me along. Great.
No, thank you so much for coming in. It's been great having you on there. It's
great to have a real legend on.
Definitely.
And, fantastic.
Yep. So thank you for joining us here tonight on Follow We Will Legends podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. We look forward to seeing you all tune in again on Monday the 29th of November with more amazing surprise guests who will be joining us, and details for the link will be posted a bit nearer the time. A huge thank you to our guests this evening, Derek and Greg. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been fantastic hearing all your stories once again. Love listening to you. So thanks very much for taking the time to come out here this evening. And yourself, Greg. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. If you have enjoyed the show tonight, you can get involved by subscribing to our YouTube channel, liking our Twitter, Facebook and Instagram pages for Follow We Will Legends podcasts. On behalf of Stan and myself here at Follow We Will, good night and God bless.